Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the evening council meeting of Monday, April the 26th. I'll call the meeting to order. This meeting is being recorded live and is streaming. All representations to council, written or verbal, will form part of the public record and be available to the public for viewing electronically or as a written record. Members of the public may access the meeting or participate in the following ways. Watch the meeting live or recorded on the District of Summerland YouTube channel at youtube.com, District of Summerland. Request to speak during the meeting. Those who have not registered in advance but wish to speak during the public comment opportunities may connect to the meeting by calling the meeting conference line at 778-907-2071 and entering meeting ID 506-489-9374 and passcode 485186. After I have provided everybody who has pre-registered with an opportunity to comment, the floor will be open to those on the conference line. Any introduction of late items or changes to the agenda?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There's no late items, but staff has withdrawn one item from the agenda, that being item 9.3. So 9.3 is being withdrawn from this evening's agenda.
Okay, thank you. Could I have someone bring forward the agenda as amended, please? Councillor Patton, Councillor Van Elfen, all in favor? Thank you. And next is the adoption of minutes from the April 12th regular evening meeting. Anything there that doesn't look quite right? Okay. Could I ask someone to bring that forward, please? Councillor Van Elfen and Holmes. All in favor? Thank you. And then on to item 6, the mayor's report. COVID-19 continues to dominate the news and our daily lives. Council again has the ability, following appropriate protocols, to attend meetings in person in council chambers. Although the public is still unable to participate this way, the ability to speak or join the meeting via Zoom continues to be available. And of course, written submissions are received and distributed to all of council. On April 15th and 22nd, I attended the weekly Mayor's Vaccination Roundtable with Interior Health. In an attempt to slow the rise of COVID-19 cases, especially those requiring hospitalization, the province has introduced travel restrictions through to midnight on May the 25th. The overall message remains consistent: stay in Summerland and travel for essential purposes only. Under the Emergency Program Act, on April the 23rd, Minister Farnworth issued an order restricting non-essential travel in BC. Movement into and out of specified regions, unless deemed essential, is not allowed and is now prohibited by law. This means that Summerland residents must stay within the Northern and Interior Health regions. Although we are unable to move about our beautiful province as freely as usual for the next month, we can be thankful that we live in the Okanagan and in Summerland, where outdoor activities are plentiful, especially as we move into the warmer days ahead. Staying with COVID-19, my thanks to the many residents who have contacted me to say how quick and easy it is to get vaccinated. I am looking forward to my turn. On April the 14th, I attended the Development Process Improvement Advisory Committee meeting. Among the other items for discussion, district staff and council received thanks from the committee for the rapid review process for temporary patios put in place to help local eateries who cannot offer dine-in service. The CAO will be speaking further to this in his report. On April the 15th, I attended the monthly South Okanagan Similkameen Respect Network meeting, followed by, on April the 22nd, the Education and Outreach Task Force meeting. SOIC, South Okanagan Immigrant and Community Services, the lead agency in this work, has partnered with UBCO to analyze the data gathered in the report Racism Survey. These baseline data will be used to guide the network and the task force in our work. Lastly, it is great to see so many people out on the trails in our municipal parks. From my observations, both Conkle and Giant's Head are getting plenty of use. And just a reminder, the Giant's Head Gate is now open to vehicles for the season. You can travel to the upper parking lot from from noon to 9 p.m. every day except Sunday when it is non-vehicular traffic only. And that's my report. CAO stat.
Thank you, Your Worship. As a start to my report this week, I wanted to acknowledge the work of our corporate officer, Karen Needham, and her team in coordinating the new technology upgrades to this council chamber. These changes will allow for a more seamless interaction for those who are streaming the meetings and also a clearer sound recording of the discussions of council. In addition, with COVID-19 still with us, special consideration has been given to achieving as much distance as possible between the seating positions and the introduction of these plexiglass barriers between council members. As council is aware, we have introduced a new rapid review process for temporary patios, given the most recent public health measures which have closed indoor seated service. I am pleased to report that the new process is proceeding well. To date, we have had a number of inquiries of the process from the business community and have approved 2 different locations for temporary patios, the Beanery Cafe and more recently, the Second Home Restaurant. I am proud of our staff who have been responsive to this need and who have worked closely with the business community during a difficult time for that sector. I'd like to acknowledge the work of volunteers, community groups, and staff who helped with the 15th annual Earth Week celebration. By all accounts, it was a big success, and many activities were enjoyed, while at the same time honoring the COVID-19 protocols. The first unlimited yard waste pickup and a downtown recycling depot also took place this last week, and many residents took the opportunity to participate in these services. In fact, the one-day recycling depot, which was set up at the arena, was the busiest we've ever had, with more than 1.5 times more gathered in recyclables than our previous largest ever collection. On the staffing front, council will be pleased to know that we have hired our new permanent firefighter and inspector position. Mr. Nigel Thomas is the successful applicant. Nigel has been with the department as an auxiliary fighter since 2009 and has demonstrated exemplary service during this time. He'll be an excellent addition to our full-time complement on the team and will start officially on May 3rd. Finally, just a quick update on the Thirsk Dam crack that is being investigated. Our consultants, GeoTriangle, completed a site visit and field inspection on Friday, April 9th. We are targeting a report for the second council meeting in May, which will include an assessment to determine the causes of the crack, comparative stability analysis, and any recommended actions that flow from that analysis. And that is my report tonight. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. First of 2 public comment opportunities. Is there anyone? No.
Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Yes,
don't you
Councillor
have
Barkwill.
questions of the CEO after his report?
Oh, yes, sir. Sure. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, thanks. I just wanted to, I think my understanding is that the Chamber of Commerce had a important role in our patio rollout, and maybe they should be recognized too for their efforts in bringing this forward. Is it the CAO's report about patios?
Thank you, Councillor Barkwill, for noting that. Did you?
And through the mayor, I'd just like to acknowledge that also. I think that's a great point to raise. They've been an excellent partner in helping identify not only the need, but also develop some of the process to roll that out.
Right. Thank you, Councillor Barkwill. Any questions on the report or further comment? All right. So we're on to the first of our development reports, development variance permit DVP 21-008 for 6315 Victoria Road South.
Good evening, Council. So the district has received an application for variance to decrease the minimum required side setback to facilitate the construction of a detached garage at 6315 Victoria Road South. Oh, there we go. Okay, there we go. In the OCP, the future land use designation of the subject property is agricultural, and it is zoned A1, small acreage agricultural. These land uses are consistent with the neighboring properties to the east. To the west, large estate lot residential is the predominant land use. It should be noted that the property is located within the agricultural land reserve. No approval is required. However, a referral was submitted to the Agricultural Land Commission and a response was received. ALC staff did not support the setback variance. While recognizing that the existing adjacent landowner does not object to the proposed variance, they stated that the construction of a garage 1.9 meters away from the adjacent property could result in future conflicts, and that in the application materials do not suggest constraints or other reasons why the detached garage could not be sited elsewhere on the property. The applicant is proposing to construct a detached garage within the farm home plate of the property. The proposed building site is an already disturbed, non-productive area. The applicant is requesting a variance to the zoning bylaw side interior setback requirement in order to facilitate the proposed placement. The existing home has an attached single vehicle garage. Vehicles are also currently being parked adjacent to the home, right up against the interior side property line. The applicant is requesting a variance to section 8.1.6A3 to reduce the minimum required side interior setback for accessory buildings from 4 meters to 1.9 meters. This reduction would allow the property owners to construct a larger 2-vehicle garage and improve their ability to contain vehicles in a tidy manner. It should be noted a smaller garage could be constructed to meet zoning bylaw 4-meter setback requirement. However, it has been communicated to staff that the larger sized garage is a deciding factor in proceeding. The intent of setbacks within the agricultural zones are to provide a physical separation and reduce potential conflict with adjacent uses. The surrounding area along Victoria Road South is predominantly residential and agricultural, and the proposed building will be consistent in form and scale with other buildings in the area. The existing driveway on the property leads directly to the proposed location of the garage, and this location is already being used for vehicle parking. Policies in the official community plan and from the Agricultural Land Commission support construction of buildings to a confined area to avoid sprawl across productive farmland. In addition, our zoning bylaw restricts the construction of accessory buildings used for residential purposes outside the farm home plate. There we are. From staff's perspective, the siting of the garage is in the least impactful spot with respect to existing agricultural use of the property. The adjacent landowner to the west, located at 6359 Victoria Road South, has also submitted a letter of support regarding the proposed variance. Based on these factors, it is not anticipated that the approval of this variance will contribute to any conflict between the two properties. As such, staff are supportive of the proposed variance. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. As this is a development variance permit, there's the opportunity for the public to comment. Is there somebody attending that would speak on behalf of the applicant? Okay. Is there anyone that has signed up or asked for the Zoom link to participate on this variance? No. Okay, thank you. Just have to ask. Okay, council, questions of Alex. Councillor Patton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Alex, did you, please refresh me. We don't have to send this to the ALR, but we did. Is that, am I correct?
So through the chair, our standard procedure is whenever a land use application occurs within a property that is contained within the ALR, we always refer that application for consideration to the ALC.
Does the ALC have any jurisdiction in regards to making the decision in how we do it? Or is it, they just have a comment and that's all?
Yeah, if I can jump into that one through your worship. No, and they don't have any jurisdiction. This is strictly a zoning bylaw variance to our zoning bylaw. Although, you know, like Alex states, best practice is always to circulate to external stakeholders that are applicable to a variance application, whether it's Interior Health or the ALC. And so if it's on the ALR land, we would always refer it to them for comment, but it's entirely within district's decision-making process to consider the variance or not.
If I may, Madam Mayor? I just find it confusing that the ALR on a piece of property that is already disturbed, as our planners have indicated, and the whole aspect of is to preserve farmland, yet they don't agree on a piece of property that looks like it's ideally set for this type of structure. So I guess it was more of a comment than a question, but thank you so much.
Thank you, Councillor Patton. Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, and my question is along the same lines. So the ALC suggested it could be placed elsewhere, but they didn't make any suggestions of where might be more appropriate on that piece of land?
Through the chair. So yeah, the response we received was strictly in text. There was no indication of location that the ALC would have preferred to see the structure cited.
Other questions? Councillor Van Elfen.
If this is an appropriate opportunity, Madam Mayor, I'd like to bring the staff recommendation forward.
Thank you. I have one question.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay, and then I'll go back to you. Alex, is the neighboring property that submitted a letter of support, is that agricultural land or ALR land as well?
Through the chair, yes, that land is also agricultural land.
Okay, that's good
And
to
it's
know.
and it's within the ALR, to confirm.
Okay, so presumably if that homeowner was to sell their property, the new buyer would be aware that this is ALR land and, you know, they can do with it what they need to do if they wanted to farm it more actively than it's currently being farmed. Okay, good. Thank you. That's the only question I had. Councillor Van Elfen, I will go back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That council authorizes assurance of development variance permit DVP 21-008 for property located at 6315 Victoria Road, legally described as lots 2, District Lot 2196, the Soyuz Division Yale District Plan KAP 43882, and that variance to the following sections of zoning bylaw 2450 be granted. Side interior setback section 8.1.6 III to vary the minimum side interior yard setback from 4.0 meters to 1.9 meters proposed.
Thank you, Councillor Patton. Any further discussion on this DVP? I'll call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you, that's carried. 9.2 is a zoning bylaw amendment at 7418 Kirk Avenue, Z21-005. Alex?
Yeah. So the property located at 7418 Kirk Avenue is proposed to be rezoned from residential estate lot RSD3 to residential medium lot RSD1 to allow for a 3-lot subdivision of the property. A single detached home currently sits on the property. The subject property has a total area of 1,752 square meters. Regulations for the RSD3 zone stipulate that the minimum parcel size for subdivision is 1,000 square meters. As such, the parcel can't be subdivided under the current zoning. The new zoning designation, RSD1, has a required parcel size of only 460 square meters, making it possible to facilitate a 3-lot subdivision. The subject property is designated as low-density residential in the district's official community plan. Directing growth to these residential areas with existing services is efficient and cost-effective for the municipality while allowing a development pattern and density that supports transit, cycling, and walking as viable alternatives to the private automobile. The District of Summerland seeks to increase densities in areas designated as low-density residential from 4 units per hectare up to 22 units per hectare to more efficiently use serviced lands and to increase transit potential. The proposal to rezone the property to RSD1 to facilitate future subdivision is supported by the OCP and conforms to the density envisioned. The introduction of sewer servicing to the Trout Creek neighborhood has resulted in a transition away from larger lot residential zoning in favor of smaller lots. Recent subdivisions in the surrounding area, such as Lighthouse Landing, Treffery Place, and Nixon Road, have all been designated as RSD1. The impact of rezoning 7418 Kirk Avenue on neighboring properties is anticipated to be minimal, as the area is dominated by single detached home development. Changing the designation from RSD3 to RSD1 opens up the possibility of subdivision and infill development in close proximity to services, amenities, and existing infrastructure. The application was circulated to internal departments for comments. The fire department noted that the property is located outside of the 10-minute fire response zone, which may mean restrictions for spatial separation. Further, hydrant spacing in the area exceeds 180 meters, identified in the subdivision and development servicing bylaw. The desired location for a new hydrant would be at the corner intersection of Thornburg and Kirk. The application was also circulated to external agencies for comment. The proposal received preliminary approval from the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure on February 26th. The developer held a public information meeting on April 7th. The meeting was held over Zoom and included a presentation from the developer and their agent and allowed participants to ask questions afterwards. This application was also considered by the Advisory Planning Commission on March 26th. Members had some concerns that lot sizes were not in keeping with others in the surrounding area and that the applicant should consider the RST2 zone instead. Members also noted that the Trout Creek area has a variety of residential zones and infill development is encouraged. Ultimately, the APC recommended that the rezoning bylaw should be supported. Staff are recommending that the zoning bylaw amendment be read a first and second time and that a public hearing be scheduled for May 25th, 2021. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Council, any questions of Alex? Councillor Barkwell, is your hand up? No. Okay. All right. Well, seemed fairly straightforward. So if someone would like to bring forward the motion that's there or another one, Councillor Holmes?
That zoning bylaw amendment 7418 Kirk Avenue bylaw number 2021-019 be introduced and read for first and second time, and that a public hearing be held on May 25th, 2021 to receive public feedback on zoning bylaw amendment bylaw number 2021-019.
Thank you. And seconded by Councillor Van Elfen. Any further discussion on this? I'll call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? That carries unanimously. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
On to the new 9.3 UBCM Local Government Development Approvals Program, Development Services Software. This will be introduced by CAO Stat.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and very pleased to introduce this item. We're very excited actually about the possibilities here and going for this grant money should it be supported by Council. As you know, Council has a priority that's been relayed to the administration, which is to increase and enhance our customer service. And that obviously is not only with our residents and the services we deliver, but also the clients that we serve in the business community and others. And we want to do better and better on that and have a continuous improvement approach to that. But we also need modernized tools in our toolbox. And frankly, a lot of our management of things like timelines and targets and processes right now are occurring on desktops, on spreadsheets. And that, of course, is labor intensive, but it's also prone to human error and missing things. And these systems, one of which Brad will be discussing here shortly, our Director of Development Services, these systems offer tremendous opportunity for innovation and modernization, and ultimately better customer service, better tracking, better reporting, and better records management. And so with that introduction, I'll just turn it over to Mr. Dolovet to say a few more words about this and have some council discussion.
Thank you, CEO Stat. And yeah, I'm very excited as well to bring this forward, this item to Council for consideration. So just some background on this grant opportunity. In March of this past March, so last month, UBCM released a new grant program called Local Government Development Approvals Grant. And the intent of this grant program was to build off of their 2019 Development Approvals Review, and specifically to seek implementation projects of established best practices and test innovative approaches to completing development approvals amongst all local governments in BC. With that regard, all local governments are eligible to apply. Only one application is permitted per local government. And the program provides a maximum of 100% of eligible cost activities to a maximum of $500,000 per application. And then as well, another detail is the application deadline is May 7th. So it is coming fairly quickly as well of this year. In the program guide, they actually lay out specific criteria for eligible activities, and two key activities that are identified are facilitating collaboration or coordination with external partners, and then also improving information technology to facilitate development application processing. And then within that item is a sub-bullet for purchasing and implementing new or upgraded digital platforms or software. And that's where we want to take advantage of this opportunity to submit an application. So we've developed a scope for submission in collaboration with some partners, and I'll get into that. So the first kind of scope that we're recommending that we apply for is for a new software solution for the District of Summerland needs, specifically and primarily in the Development Services Department area, but there would be also tie-ins to finance as well as our utilities through utility servicing requests, including the electrical utility as well. And in the areas of building permits, planning applications, business licensing, and also processing of bylaw enforcement complaints through the district process. And then secondly, we also want to create a regional customer portal for both the RDOS and the District of Summerland development application customers as an additional scope item. And we see this as potential as an innovative item to approach EBCM with that I'll get into a little more detail here. So as CEO Stat mentioned, for our current process tracking processes and software that we use, primarily this is being done manually by our staff. It's being done through updating of Microsoft Excel spreadsheets for various processes that we have, whether it's building permits, planning applications, or bylaw enforcement complaints. We don't have anything other than that for tracking dates and timelines. And so primarily we're hoping to take advantage of this program to identify or procure a software solution that would allow us to have functionality for our processes to be applied online, which is something that a lot of other local governments are now pushing forward right now with their processes. As well as provide process management status updates, tracking, interdepartmental communication between processes, as well as kind of a key thing that's missing is, often these processes are related. Sometimes applying applications generate from a bylaw enforcement complaint, or there's a tie-in with a works project, for example. So being able to communicate between processes is also a key deliverable. To automate and routine simple functions that are right now currently done manually and increasing our processing time. And then also providing better communication to our customers. So knowing when their application is updating from different stages in the process, whether it's in plan review or getting ready for permit issuance as an example, is something that we would like to also provide our customers, is that enhanced communication of their file. And then finally, we'd like this software solution would have to integrate with our District of Summerland existing programs. Our new GIS system, as an example, would have to be integrated with it, as well as we use VADM for financial reporting and cash receipting. You'd have to link into that. So all in all, we've estimated that it'll cost roughly for the software system $254,000. And we did work with a couple of companies to come up with that cost. That's why it is fairly specific in order to determine the full scope of what would be required to put forward in terms of the grant. And we've added on top of that a 1-year maintenance program fee and a 5% contingency for the total amount of $283,000. What we're proposing as well is that the software solution be a cloud-based program in order to integrate well with our website. And council, in considering this request, should be cautious that often with a cloud-based system, there are subscription fees. So that is something that may impact us as we move into the 2022 budget if we are successful with this program. But council can estimate roughly around a $20,000 per year annual hit to our operating budget for those subscription fees for the software solution. And then I mentioned before the regional portal idea. That was through discussions with the regional district of Okanagan-Similkameen. They are undergoing their own implementation process with a software provider to basically do what we want to do with our first scope in terms of automizing and creating an e-application process through their website. We see value in working together and providing consistent application requirements online through a regional approach, because often our builders if they work in the district of Summerland, they're also working in the regional district and often as well in the city of Penticton and West Kelowna, and the jurisdictions of our builders aren't really as applicable, and they work wherever they can get a job. So the idea with this innovation add-on was that we would create one central portal regionally where they would have one user profile online where they could submit all of their application requirements through this regional portal. It would then be diverted from this regional portal to each of our own separate systems. And it's important that we have our own separate systems for FOIP reasons and for keeping user information confidentially. But this way would provide better customer enhancement at the front end of ensuring that our application requirements were the same at the regional district and also at the District of Summerland level. So that was kind of the added tag on that we would recommend that we add as part of our scope. And we have an estimated cost of $85,000 roughly for the building of this regional customer portal in collaboration with the regional district. And so if council agrees with that proposed additional scope of work, we're recommending that we also request that we get a letter of support from the regional district for the submission of our application. And as well, we think that this will enhance our opportunity to be successful with the grant, because they are looking at intergovernment collaboration as a key deliverable from the program. So with that, I should mention as well that we also presented this to the Development Process Improvement Committee last week, 2 weeks ago, and we got a resolution from the committee in support of considering the purchase and application of the software for the program. So thank you.
Thank you, Brad. Council, questions? Councillor Patton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Probably to our CAO. I know that we had talked earlier in our budget sessions in regards to upgrading for corporate services in regards to some software and some platforms there. Are we working together with Development Services to see if those systems would be able to mend together, or will they be standalone systems?
Yeah, I think it's an excellent question through the chair. Thank you. I don't know if the conversation has matured to the extent of engaging corporate services yet, Brad, on the exploration of that possibility, but just acknowledging Councillor Patton is right in that we do need modernization and support in that area as well. But if you have any comment on that for yourself or Karen?
Well, maybe I'll kick off first, but I think there are going to be some opportunities for integration given the current path that corporate services is on with their processes. I see that if we're successful with this grant, it would just build on the current work that's being done. For example, the new GIS platform as well, I think it would integrate well with what's being rolled out already, as well as the improvements being made to our server. I think will enhance the functionality of using the software. So I think that that it would tie in well. Of course, there will be staff time involved with the implementation process, so that would be something that Karen can comment on in terms of additional staff time for going through this process. So.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Karen, did you have additional comment? No?
No, I just, again, just as everyone has said, it's early stages, and certainly part of the 5-year implementation plan for building our systems up is getting to the point where we're supporting our businesses and the technology that they need to do a good job and to communicate with the public. So that is slated for next year. So by the time this kind of comes through, and hopefully we'll have some of our performance issues and our foundational work all completed, and we'll be really ready to take on these types of initiatives.
Good, thank you. Other questions? Councillor Van Elfen? No. Okay, I have one question. First of all, the thought that this software can be used for all kinds of things in the development services world and ultimately provides better or enhances the customer service is always a good thing. That's something that we're really striving to increase here at the district. I had a question. You were mentioning that it will make it easier for you to communicate with an applicant on what the status, for example, of their application is. Is there a way for an applicant to go online and see that kind of information for themselves, to see where their application status is? Yeah. It's not that they have to contact you and you have to look it up. They can do that directly themselves.
Yeah, that's correct, Your Worship. Thanks for the question. The software is intended to tie into our website so that when they'd go to a link on our website and then log into their user platform where they would have their own user profile. And then within that user profile, there would be a list of all the different application types that they have submitted, whether they have, if they're an active builder, maybe they have 4 or 5 building permits in process right now. If they're just a homeowner, maybe they have an enforcement complaint and a deck project, let's say, and they could evaluate the statuses of both those processes, whether our enforcement staff has done an investigation, whether the permit has been reviewed by staff, so that then they know where the application is in the process, and it does reduce on the number of calls that our department gets, and then as well it provides enhanced communication to the applicant as to where their application is in the process. So, yeah.
Good, that's great. And that would include if it was an application for a commercial development, that would include business license and where
That's
all
right.
of that was as well.
Yeah.
Great. Oh, that sounds great. Graham.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to also have a comment in relation to your question. And from a previous role, I had rolled out something very similar to this in a large-scale approval situation. And one of the things is you always want to still have regular contact with your clients. And so one of our concerns at that time was, well, if we move to a self-service option, does it start to erode the relationship, or is there something? But what we found in doing it, people really prefer the self-service option to understand the status of their applications and next steps, where it is in the timeline. It actually evolves the dialogue with the client to more of the strategic and planning elements. So you still have a lot of dialogue, but the way you use your time is actually on the bigger picture thing, on how those things fit together and the appropriate planning. So it actually works really well on both sides of that.
Great, thank you. Councillor Barkwell.
Yeah, maybe it's in the report, but I didn't see it. Is this off the shelf software, such as Vatum is or anything, or is this going to be a customly built program?
Through the chair, to answer that question, it's kind of a mix of both. Like I said, there are companies right now working with the regional district that are ahead of us in terms of their implementation schedule. But every local government is unique with the type of systems that they utilize, and as well as the type of processes that are required and the different steps within that process. So there is a level of customization that is required, just because, like, for example, the District of Summerland is unique that we have our own electrical utility. So how does that electrical utility tie into the development services process? As a lot of other local governments wouldn't have to consider that, right, as part of their development process. So that's the reason why the cost is on the larger side for this type of software. It's not just straight out of a box. There is a requirement of staff time as well, and we should be cognizant of that as well. plus and sitting with a consultant and implementing our process specifically for our process all the way through from start to finish, so that they know what they're building for us, as well as we know how to use it and how to integrate with our systems, like VADM for finance and our GIS system as an example. So.
Councillor Holmes.
Thank you. So in light of that, when we're reviewing our processes and maybe changing our processes and streamlining them and re-engineering our process, where we want to really get ahead of that and make sure those are all done before we actually implement this. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And thank you for the comment. And that is something that it is a goal of council already in terms of process improvement. So we are making changes already in that regard, but we hope to keep tweaking our processes ahead of time before we hear of this grant and the results of this grant within the next 3 to 6 months, I would say. And then, and also then going forward with the implementation process. So I think we do have a little window of opportunity to try to fine tune our processes as they are now, but I would agree that we'd want to ensure that they are locked in for at least for the short time being once it's implemented. Thank you.
Any other questions? Nope. Okay, could I have someone bring forward thank you, Councillor Van Elfen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The council directs staff to submit an application to the UBCM Local Government Development Approvals Program for the implementation of development service software and a new regional portal for development services customers in the amount of $368,750, and that council requests that a letter of support be requested from the regional District of Okanagan-Slocomin for this grant application.
Thank you. Councillor Councillor Holmes, you're seconding?
Yes.
Thank you. Further discussion on this application? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? Great, that's carried. Nine 9.5 is you as well, Brad. Development Services Monthly Activities Report.
Thank you. I'll just wait for the slides on this one. I have a short presentation. Okay. Like I am in front of you every month, near the end of the month, I'm here to report on our monthly activities for the Development Services Department for the month of March 2021. Next slide, please. So in my report, I provide a detailed update on all the applications, and I'm happy to take any questions on any specific application following this presentation. But again, wanted to show some statistics so far for this would be the first quarter of 2021 up to the end of March. So for planning applications, you can see that if you times any of the numbers that are provided for the year to date up to by 4, because we're at the end of the quarter, you get kind of an annual total projected out. And if you look at that comparison of that annual total for the subdivision and rezoning applications, you can see that we're well ahead of that pace for what we received last year for the total number of subdivisions and rezoning. So our planning staff are pretty busy with processing those applications. Looking at it more anecdotally, I think that this is a product of the current real estate activity happening within the community right now. We're seeing a lot more interest from property owners that were previously not motivated to pursue a subdivision coming out of the woodwork to consider it. As an example, that was the one that came before council today for consideration at first reading in order to bring a few more lots to the market. So definitely we're seeing that with the type of applications that are being submitted. As well, although still high, our variances are kind of on the same pace as last year. And even though that we are in really a high peak growth period right now. So I'm hopeful that that's an indication that our administrative updates to our zoning bylaw are working, and that the number of variances are going down, is what we were hoping to see from those administrative amendments. But next slide, please. For building permits, for the month of March, we had a total construction value of 1.8 million issued for just the 1 month. And for year to date, we're at 6.88 million for total construction value, and we're on pace, I would say, on average for other years for the amount of new activity. Again, we're a bit higher on number of permits issued. A lot of people have a lot of the projects going on right now with COVID. People are looking at decks and accessory buildings as well, so that's increasing the number of permits that we are processing as well. Next slide, please. For bylaw enforcement, again, similar to last month, we've got a lot more enforcement complaints coming in, as well as complaints that are instigated by our staff with regards to the traffic bylaw. Previous month, I reported it was second in place was snow removal, and obviously now with the changing weather conditions, that's declined. And but we've had a few more zoning bylaw infraction complaints come in, and our staff are dealing with that primarily as well for the month of March. Next slide, please. So in total, for the year to date, again, traffic's, we're seeing a lot more activity with regards to traffic bylaw, property maintenance and zoning, more files perhaps coming out of that area. And as you can see, about, I think 6 from down on the list, we got COVID-19 files for specific complaints. So that's kind of a new enforcement area that's being created due to the pandemic. So wanted to highlight that one. And I think for enforcement as well, just a brief update on our activities in general from the operation of our department. We've got new uniforms for our staff that are professional looking, and are trying to, increase our image in the community as well when we're out there, responding to different complaints and dealing with the public. And as well, I think that we've got a few more weekends from our new part-time bylaw officer that they've been working out in the field, and so it's good to see that we're getting some coverage over the weekends on Sundays as well and Saturdays for our bylaw officers being out there and being visible and enforcing our bylaws. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Councillor Van Elfen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I appreciate the opportunity. I was in Penticton Saturday, very early in the morning, helping my wife set up the farmer's market. And bylaw is out in full force in Penticton. But the thing that really stood out for me is those trucks stand out. It's just not your basic City of Penticton Works vehicle. They're striped differently, and like I say, they stand out. It's something, just a thought for some further discussion in the future. I think if they're more visible, it just makes better business sense, possibly better advertising, I guess. But they sure stood out in Penticton, that's for sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I'll go to Brad first and then to Councillor Patton.
If I may, to respond to that, I thank you for bringing that forward, Councillor Van Elfen. I think that's a great idea, and actually there might be an opportunity coming here in the near future, because we may be getting a new vehicle for our bylaw enforcement staff fairly soon. So that would be the opportune time to consider the decals that we're using for our vehicles and seeing what upgrades we can do to improve the image of our staff out in the field too. So thank you for the comment.
Councillor Patton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just looking at your first quarter of 2021, is that just having one full-time and one part-time bylaw enforcement? So just Dan and Darren, and they've done this amount of calls already?
That's correct, yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, you know what, actually, it's an important comment to make is that I think when we hired on Dan, he was surprised by the number of files that was being managed by 1.5 people in comparison to his workload in the city of Kelowna for the number of files per officer per year. But a lot of those, though, are generated. We track all of our workloads, so some of those are generated by our own staff, like trees over right-of-ways and you know, vehicles that are you know, unlicensed on the public road right-of-way is another example. So yeah, some of them are self-generated, but a majority of them are complaint-based.
Yeah, it's a large number. They should be commended on a job well done. Thanks.
Councillor Parkwell.
So when you talk about the traffic, which is the big number there, you're talking parking infractions and stuff, I suppose, and not moving traffic. Because what brings it to mind is all the videos we've been getting of people speeding past down Victoria. Is that just passed off to the RCMP? Does it really have anything to do? Is speeding anything to do with the District of Summerland? Is it entirely an RCMP matter?
Graham?
Through the chair. So first of all, with respect to traffic, that would include in these numbers abandoned vehicles, unlicensed vehicles on the roadway, unattached trailers on the roadway, as I think we've all seen from time to time. People living in a vehicle, dump trucks speeding on residential roads is an example here, and advertising vehicles for sale on the roadway. Now, I also wanted to just say that in regards to speeding in certain areas, there has been some public concern related to us, and also from council from time to time. And one of the hotspot locations does appear to be Victoria Road, and so I've already engaged the RCMP on that specifically, and they're looking at doing some additional enforcement presence there, and in fact have already conducted a bit of a sample. So we are working closely with the RCMP on those speeding infractions because we are concerned, particularly in those pedestrian areas where there could be vehicle pedestrian impacts.
Brad?
And just to add to that too, for the comment to Councillor Barkwell, if I may, the LIBOA, the Association for Bylaw Officers, has petitioned the province a number of times in the past for authority for bylaw officers to become community peace officers, which is similarly done in other provincial jurisdictions like the province of Alberta. If that was done provincially, and right now it's restricted by the province, then our bylaw officers could be designated to issue traffic fines for speeding. Right now, there's no authority for our bylaw officers to do that. You know, that could be something that you know, that could be considered at a provincial level. It'd require a change at that level, but that would provide more resources in addition to our CMP to try to, you know, be on top of the active speeding that's happening within our community.
Councillor Barkwell?
Yeah,
Again?
another question,
Right.
if I could, Madam Mayor.
Pardon me?
The citizens on patrol used to set up their radar gun and you know, like largely school zones, but other areas. And since I never get to go anywhere and leave the house with COVID and stuff, I haven't, I don't know if they're still doing that. Are they, as a citizen on patrol, still, you know, setting up their big warning sign, you're speeding, or telling you how fast you're going in various locations in town?
Graham?
Through the chair, I've actually had that conversation with Sergeant Preston as well. And it does appear that due to COVID, that a lot of those activities have been curtailed at the current time. But he also agrees that in the past their presence was extremely helpful to help reduce the activities that are out there. And so until they sort of restart and mobilize in a safer atmosphere once COVID is sort of gone, then in the meantime, we are looking to focus the efforts through the RCMP and other measures. But that their presence and involvement was certainly recognized and very helpful to this situation.
Any other questions about the development services reports? Okay, could I have someone bring that forward to receive for information? Councillor Patton? Seconder? Councillor Traynor? All in favor? Great, thank you. Next is business arising from Committee of the Whole in closed session. So resolutions brought forward from the April 12th closed session, and this is for Ms. Needham.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Recently, Council appointed new committee members to the Agricultural Advisory, the Community Climate Action, and the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committees. And all applicants have now been advised of the appointments, so this resolution is being brought forward to the open meeting.
Thank you. And it's just a matter of housekeeping, making sure that it's broadly known now because it's out of closed. So then we are on to item 12. Unless anyone sees committee appointments that are not quite what you remembered. Looks good. Okay. Any notices of motion this evening? All right. So we're on to information items. There's several items of correspondence. Anything that a councillor would like to bring forward? Councillor Holmes and then Councillor Van Elfen.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to bring forward the correspondence B from the City of Penticton, the letter to UBCM. And I would like to actually bring forward a motion to write to the province asking that they respect local government's traditional responsibilities for local land use planning. This issue came to the RDOS last week. Mayor Vasilaki brought it forward. And he stressed, and I like to stress at the time, that this isn't about the homeless issue that's going on in Penticton. It's not about Penticton Council's decision on this. It's not about Penticton Council's decision to take legal action. What it is about municipalities, all municipalities' right to make a decision on a matter of local land use. So, I'm gonna take this off. Local governments have existed, since medieval times, well before nation states were formed. And the primary reason local governments existed was to organize a village and its infrastructure, decide that the market would go there, the clock tower would go there, roads would go like this and that. And today, we basically serve the same purpose, and we do that through various urban planning methods, like zoning is the main one. Provincial governments may have the legal authority to invoke paramountcy over municipal zoning, but I question if they have the moral authority. It goes against the very purpose of local government, and I think it undermines local democracy. So if we can't be confident our decisions regarding local land use will hold force, I'd question, why are we even here? So if we as local elected officials just sit back and watch senior levels of government take over our areas of responsibility in other communities, then I don't think we'd be able to complain if they do it, if it happens to us here. So with that, I'd like to put forward a motion on the table that the District of Summerland send a letter to the Premier and Minister Eby requesting that the province respect local government's traditional responsibility for land use planning and to refrain from invoking paramountcy over municipal zoning bylaws.
Okay, seconder, Councillor Van Elfen. Okay, opportunity for discussion. Councillor Van Elfen and then Councillor Carlson.
Well, I appreciate Councillor Holmes bringing this forward. Very well said. The part that really sticks out for me, Councillor Holmes, is that why am I here? Why do we have elections? Why do we have elected officials in our community if this is the way Victoria is going to step on councils? So I strongly support this motion and I'm strongly second it. Thank you.
Councillor Carlson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have a question. I wasn't part of the RDOS meeting. I know this came up at that point, and it was a rather hotly debated topic. My question for Councillor Holmes, I guess, is was the concept of, or was the topic of the pandemic part of the conversation that around this? Like, do you think that the province would have done this or will continue to do this if we weren't in this pandemic situation where things have become dire and where this situation, whether rightly or wrongly, the people needed somewhere to be? I'm just wondering if that was part of the conversation and whether this was seen as a sort of a extra, was this an extra measure taken because of the pandemic, or do we think this is going to continue being the way that the government of this province wants to act?
So all I can say is it didn't come up. Nothing about the pandemic came up at all from anybody.
So I think in my view, there's probably a lot between the province and the city of Penticton that happened. And I understand that's not what this motion necessarily is, because we're talking about not letting the province deal directly with our zoning and making decisions for us. But I do think that some of this is totally because of the pandemic, and it's about reacting to a situation that has arisen. And I think we just need to keep that in the back of our minds, that the province, I don't think they're doing it out of spite for any particular municipality. I think that that's just something I've been thinking about a lot as this has sort of gone around.
Anybody else? Councillor Traynor.
Yeah, this is a tough one. From what I recall, the vote was split at the RDOS, and it just barely passed that that it be supported to send a letter to the province. I sympathize with what Penticton is going through, and I understand how frustrating it is. I'm not going to support this because I think that this is something that should go to UBCM first, rather than coming from individual municipalities. That's kind of what we discussed at the RDOS as well. So I'm just going to stick to the vote that I did last week. But I do understand and you know, I get what Penticton's going through, but like I said, I think that this is something that might be better served to go to UBCM first. And that's it. Thank you.
Councillor Bark.
I think Councillor Holmes has done a good job of separating the principle here on this motion from any issue that Penticton has. Anytime that the province asserts its paramountcy, there's going to be some issues behind it. And what we really want to say is that, that we don't really think you should, although you have the right. And if you ever, you know, apply this right that you have, it should be for a very good reason that everybody can understand. And, you know, if, as Councillor Holmes said, if it was us and we hadn't objected before to the province asserting its rights this way, then why would, you know, what sort of leg do we have to stand on later? So I think it is, and you have to look at it separately. It's a principle of the thing. It just happens to have been Penticton's issue that brought it forward, but there'll always be some issue if it ever comes up, and the principle still remains the same. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Councillor Barkwell. Did you have anything? Yeah, Councillor Patton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I agree with my colleagues. I think that Councillor Holmes has done a great job in separating what, in regards to just sending a letter to say that when we deal with our land use issues, we're within a process. And if it was Summerland that was into a very, very controversial process in regards to land use, and we made a decision, and then the province came in and invoked their powers to change our decision, I think then that we would be a little upset as well. But I think it's more of just to send a message out, just to say, look, you know what, there is due process in the municipal government world, and we're just doing what we do, and we're within our rights to do it. And I commend Councillor Holmes for bringing it forward. Thank you.
Okay, time for me to weigh in. Like Councillor Traynor, I certainly understand, and I'm sure everyone here understands and has empathy for this situation. I just want to bring in a little bit of a different perspective, and that is, as the Vice President of SILGA, this came forward, Councillor Sentes from Penticton currently sits on the executive as well, and she brought this forward, asking for SILGA to do the same thing, to write a letter to the Premier and support Penticton in this regard. So by then, municipalities, not just in the Silga region, but throughout British Columbia, had all received the same letter that he had sent to UBCM president, and asking for support through their municipal councils and regional district boards to send a letter to the Premier as well. We decided as the executive of SILGA that based on a number of communications that the outgoing president had with other member municipalities and regional districts, that there was quite a divide, and we decided that it would be up to individual municipalities and regional districts to make their own decision. But as the executive of the larger local government association, we felt that it wasn't, we were not going to do that because it didn't truly represent all of the membership. That was our decision. And Lori, again, the current president, you know, when you're the president of SILGA or a local government association in BC, you're also part of UBCM and represent your local government association at UBCM. They spent a lot of time talking about this particular item. once they had received, President Frankel had received the letter from the city of Penticton. And UBCM's thought on this was that it was something that was between the province and the city of Penticton, and that we're going to do what they could to facilitate discussions between the two groups. There were some established rules of engagement, which included respect, and that doesn't include hanging up on the Minister of Housing. And so I'm not sure, this came back at our last SILGA meeting. I guess it was about 2 weeks ago Wednesday. So that's the discussion that we had, and at that point UBCM was already working with the province and the city of Penticton on this matter. I'm not sure where it sits at this point. So for these reasons, and my personal perspective on this, I think that there needs to be a demonstrated level of cooperation and frankly maturity between the province and the city of Penticton, and that they need to have some frank and honest and unemotional discussion and come to a satisfactory resolution on their own. I don't doubt the fact that as local governments, that is one of our roles, is to establish zoning, and with the will of our constituents through the OCP. But the province does, as a senior government, have the right to invoke paramountcy, and that's what they've done in this particular case. Whether or not, I agree with it, I don't think that I am not in favor of writing a letter to the Premier. I think that we should let the lead actors in this situation sort things out for themselves. Okay, I think everyone's had the opportunity to weigh in on this. Is there any further discussion on the motion that's on the floor? I will call the question. All in favor? That's 4, and opposed? So that's 4 to 3, so the motion carries, and staff will write a letter to the Premier. Thank you, Councillor Holmes. Any other correspondence to bring forward? Councillor Van Elfen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In going through the correspondence, I believe it's H, Peace River Regional District on invasive plants. Mm-hmm. I know we had a discussion, I think it was late last summer, fall, about the Horiolism problem here in Summerland. And I know during budget, I think we contribute to the RDOS, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe Councillor Traynor and Councillor Holmes could help me out here. I cannot remember the name of the people to contact, but could we get that contact number on our municipal website if, these invasive plants start showing here this spring, the Horiolism for sure, and if we could have a number that people could contact and maybe have this problem eradicated, but also maybe if we could get a report from our Director of Works and Utilities, what their thought was from last year's meeting on how they're going to address this problem. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, just in response to that, that'd be Lisa Scott at Oasis, who has a contract with the RDOS to manage invasive species. And she was the one who presented us about the issue, I believe.
So you think, Madam Mayor, it'd be appropriate to have that phone number on our website for citizens to be able to contact Mrs. Scott if, you know, if they identify these species?
What does the rest of council think? I think it's not a bad idea. It's fairly easy to do something like that. Is that correct, Karen? Yes, and just direct them to Oasis. Councillor Holmes?
Yeah, we might want to contact her and just ask her what is the process.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Do we need a resolution for that? No. Okay. Councillor Barkwell.
Yes, I want to thank Councillor Van Alphen for bringing that up. I certainly agree. I think we should try and step up our invasive weed awareness, which is the start of control, and contact, report a weed kind of a program. That would sure be a great start. And then after that, we might find, well, okay, they've got more reports than they can handle. So then the next step would be examining the resources we put to it. But it's a stitch in time saves nine situation. And I think we don't want to wait before we up our game on this one.
Thank you, Councillor Barkwell. Kind of glad to have this come forward because I know that our Director of Community Services is working with the Grasslands Conservation Council on having a weed pull, invasive weed pull on Giants Head Mountain Park. So I hope that everyone will be out there with me on the trails and pulling out weeds that have come up with the disturbance of the new trails. Okay, is there any other piece of correspondence? And thank you, Councillor Van Alphen and Councillor Holmes, for bringing those two forward. All right. So just a motion to receive the correspondence for information. Councillor Patton and Councillor Van Alphen, all in favor? Great, thank you. And on to Councillor reports. I'm going to go live and then, well, I guess you're live too, but live and then Zoom. So starting with you, Councillor Holmes.
No, the only thing is I attended a Arts Council board meeting as your alternative a couple of weeks ago, and I would like to congratulate our former colleague Janet Peak, who is the new Arts Council president.
Thank you for attending that meeting on my behalf, Councillor Holmes. Councillor Traynor.
The only thing is on the weekend, I took some of my recyclables, including old batteries, up to the district's recycle bay, and it was really well attended and really well organized. So I just wanted to congratulate staff on operating that. I think by noon, they had like a lot of stuff there. So obviously people are organizing their homes because they've got really nothing else to do during COVID. So congratulations to staff. It seemed like it went really well.
Yes, I agree. It was pretty active when I was there about 1 o'clock. Councillor Van Alphen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Not a whole lot to report. Attended Agriculture Advisory Committee meeting and busy on the farm, springtime, and looking forward to tomorrow. I get my COVID shot here in Summerland, so I'm looking forward to rolling up my sleeve.
Good.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Good, thank you. Councillor Barkwell.
Nothing to report, thank you.
Councillor Patton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to report that on Saturday, the 24th, was the KVR's annual general meeting. And Sharon Unruh, who was the past president, who did a phenomenal job, has stepped down, and the new KVRS president is Tom Burley. And so I want to congratulate Tom. Robin Forbes is the new vice president. Dave Smith has accepted the secretary position. And Brett Annabelle from Millionaire Rural Cidery is now sitting on the board of the KVR. So I know it was in the paper, and but the KVR could use support with not being able to run the trains. Memberships are more than welcome, and donations are even welcomed even more. So if you can help the KVR out, it would be greatly appreciated. And that's all I have to report. Thank you.
Great, thank you for that message. And last but not least, Councillor Carlson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't really have too much to report. Last week there was a downtown plan committee meeting. Lots of conversation about the RFP. Hopefully, will go out within the next couple of weeks. And once that's out, there's lots of conversation to be had about what is our downtown going to look like, and how do we invest and make a plan in the infrastructure, in the park, in zoning, and doing all the things that will improve and enhance the core of our community. Mr. Matuzzi gave us a presentation last month, and I think that gave people a lot of food for thought. And so moving forward, I think it'll be really positive, and look forward to seeing who's going to be successful in putting that project together for the district. Really exciting. It's taken a long time to get here, and I think we're going to all benefit when it's done. And that's all I have to report tonight. Enjoy the blossoms, because everything is out right now, and it's just beautiful.
Yep. Great. Okay. I have to ask, anyone on the line, public or media? Okay, thank you. So I will ask for someone to call for adjournment. That's Councillor Van Elfen and Councillor Holmes, all in favor? Great. Thank you. Not even 7:30 yet.